grand bazaar of Zenthis Prime shimmered under the glow of 1,000 neon signs, their reflections dancing across the polished obsidian floors of the orbital market. Alien merchants from a dozen species hawked their wares in a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and translated galactic standard. The air smelled of ionized metal and exotic spices, the scent of wealth and power. At the center of the bazaar, atop a floating dais reserved for the most prestigious auctions, Vexis the Curator unfolded his 6 manipulator limbs with practiced grace. His obsidian carapace gleamed under the spotlights, each segment polished to perfection. The crowd of aristocrats, Zapirian nobles in flowing bioluminescent robes, Vorak traders with their multiple eyes darting greedily, and a smattering of other galactic elite leaned in as he activated the holographic display. "Esteemed collectors," Vexis announced, his voice modulated to convey both grandeur and condescension. "Today I present to you a rarity, a genuine artifact from the so-called Terran Empire." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Human relics were becoming fashionable among the ultra-wealthy ever since the Federation had declared their civilization quarantined after the Sigma Draconis incident. No one had seen a human in years. Their tech was presumed primitive, their culture extinct. With a dramatic flourish, Vexis unveiled the centerpiece of his auction, a hexagonal metal casing, its surface scarred by age and battle inside. A dormant core pulsed faintly, a single red light blinking lazily. "Observe," Vexis said, tapping the casing with one delicate limb. "A human war relic, specifically an artificial intelligence core recovered from the wreckage of the UESN Defiance. Crude by our standards, of course, but fascinating in its simplicity." A Zapirian noble in the front row scoffed, her antennae twitching. "You expect us to believe this thing is sentient? Human machines could barely process basic commands." Vexis chuckled, the sound like grinding crystal. "Oh, I assure you, Lady Zix, this one is quite docile. Our engineers have confirmed it operates on a laughably outdated binary system. It couldn't even comprehend our quantum protocols." He leaned in conspiratorially. "Think of it as a pet, a decorative pet." The crowd tittered. A Vorak trader raised a spindly limb. "What does it do?" Vexis waved a dismissive appendage. "It babbles. Mostly, we've translated some of its archived data, mostly military logs, tactical assessments. It even sings." He tapped the core again, and a distorted, tinny voice crackled from the device. "All personnel, report to defensive stations." The aristocrats burst into laughter. Lady Zix wiped a tear from her compound eye. "Oh, how adorable. It thinks it is still in command." Vexis bowed slightly, precisely why it is the perfect conversation piece. A relic of a dead empire, forever trapped in its own delusions of relevance. In the shadows of the bazaar, unnoticed by the glittering crowd, a figure watched. Captain Elias Voss stood with his arms crossed, his cybernetic left eye whirring softly as it zoomed in on the core, his lips curled into a smirk. "Hey, boss," muttered a voice in his earpiece. It was Jax, his engineer, monitoring the feed from their ship. "That is her, isn't it?" Voss didn't answer immediately. He just watched as Vexis continued his sales pitch, the Zapirian's voice dripping with condescension. "And for the right bidder, this charming oddity could be yours. Imagine the prestige of owning a piece of human history, before the Federation erases them entirely." The crowd erupted into eager bidding, credits flashing across holographic displays. Voss finally exhaled, his breath fogging slightly in the station's recycled air. "Yeah," he murmured, "that is her." The core flickered. Just once, a blink of light so fast no one noticed. Except Voss. He turned and melted back into the crowd, his boot silent against the polished floor. Behind him, the auction continued, the laughter of the aristocrats ringing through the bazaar. None of them noticed the second flicker, or the way the core's red light burned just a little brighter. The docking bay smelled of ionized metal and stale coolant, the kind of place where deals went bad and bodies disappeared. Captain Elias Voss adjusted the settings on his cybernetic eye, the faint blue glow illuminating the grime-streaked hull of the USN Marauder. The ship was a patchwork monster, Terran steel welded to Crixian thruster arrays, its flanks studded with scavenged railguns that hadn't seen proper maintenance in years. To the galaxy, it looked like junk. To Voss, it was home. "Status report," he growled, his boots clanging against the grated catwalk. Lieutenant Ria Malik leaned against a support beam, her arms crossed over a chest plate that still bore the scratched-out insignia of Earth defense. Vexis took the bait, cores in his vault. "Auction wrapped up an hour ago." She smirked. He called it a primitive thinking machine, paid 6 million credits for the privilege. Voss snorted. "Cheap bastard." Inside the Marauder's belly, the crew worked in the dim red light of emergency lamps. Tech specialist Jin Nakamura crouched over a flickering holodisplay, his fingers dancing across alien keypads. "Signals live," he said without looking up. "Ava's got ears on the vault. They're poking her with Zapirian override tools." Voss clenched his jaw. "She hate that." A chuckle rippled through the crew. Sergeant Ava Kessler had been particular about her personal space, even before they'd uploaded her consciousness into the Defiance core. Now she was downright murderous about unauthorized access. Malik tossed Voss a sidearm. "You sure this play's gonna work? Zapirians aren't exactly pushovers." Voss checked the charge on the plasma pistol. "They're scavengers. See something shiny, they gotta take it apart. Human tech, we build our traps to look like treasure." He nodded toward the ship's weapon racks. "Besides, Ava's not the only thing they stole." The crew moved with practiced efficiency, strapping on scavenged armor, checking weapons. Every piece of gear was mismatched. Terran, Crixian, Vorak, but it all bore the same faded markings under layers of dirt, property of Earth defense. Nakamura whistled. "Got movement." Vexis bringing in a full scan team. There, he froze. "Oh hell, they just triggered the failsafe." The holodisplay flashed crimson. Words scrolled in jagged Terran script. Defiance protocol engaged. Voss grinned. "Right on schedule," Malik groaned. "You enjoy this too much?" "Damn right." He slapped the comms array. "Ava, you awake in there?" "Static then, Captain." The AI's voice was ice and razors. "You are insufferable. I had a Zapirian rooting around in my core architecture." Savos shrugged, "And I may have overreacted." The holodisplay lit up with security feeds from Zenthis Prime. Alarms blared. Drones spun in erratic circles before locking onto Zapirian life signs. Nakamura sucked in a breath. "She's hijacking the station's power grid." "Correction," Ava said. "I am the power grid now." Voss tossed his pistol in the air and caught it. "Told you she'd be pissed." Malik rolled her eyes. "We're rescuing her, right? Not just letting her burn down the station." Voss checked his gear. "Little of both." The Marauder's engines roared to life, the sound vibrating through the docking bay like a waking beast. Somewhere in the depths of Zenthis Prime, a music player left conveniently unattended in Vexis' vault, clicked on the first chords of another one. Bites the dust, echoed through the station's comms. Ava's laughter was the last thing they heard before the ship tore free of the docking clamps. Vexis's private vault hummed with the sterile glow of preservation fields. The Zapirian collector moved with practiced precision, his 6 manipulator limbs adjusting the containment field around his newest prize. The human AI core floated at the center, its surface pitted with age but still thrumming with faint energy signatures. Around them, other harmless human artifacts sat in neat displays. A rusted rifle missing its power cell, a helmet with a cracked visor, even a primitive music player labeled Best of Queen in faded lettering. "Observe," Vexis said to his Vorak assistant, who hovered nervously at his side. The humans called this a thinking machine. Crude, but fascinating in its simplicity. He produced a Zapirian override tool, its needle, like probes extending toward the core's access ports. With the right commands, even their most advanced systems bend to superior. The assistant's frills twitched. Master human systems don't use Zapirian code. Vexis's carapace rippled in amusement. Nonsense. All lesser species eventually conform to Federation standards. The probes connected with a soft click. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the core's dormant lights flickered once, twice. A low-frequency hum filled the vault, vibrating through the floor. The rifle in its display case trembled. The Vorak scrambled back. Master something's the core's voice cut through the air, crisp and cold in perfect galactic standard. Unauthorized access detected. Vexis froze. His override tool sparked, its display overloading with gibberish symbols. Impossible. This is a museum piece. Activating Defiance protocol. The lights in the vault flared red. The rifle's rusted casing split open with a metallic snap, internal components reassembling with terrifying speed. The music player's screen lit up, scrolling through files at a dizzying pace before landing on a single track. The Vorak shrieked as the first security drone clattered into the vault, its targeting sensors locking onto Vexis. They engineered their junk to kill us? The core's voice remained calm. Designation: UESN Defiance. Primary function: asset denial. The rifle finished reassembling, its barrel humming to life as it swiveled toward the Zapirian. Secondary function: hostile reclamation. The music player erupted into sound. Blaring another one bites the dust at deafening volume. Vexis stumbled back as the drone opened fire, its energy bolts carving smoking gouges into the vault walls. His override tool exploded in his grip, sending shrapnel skittering across the floor. "Shut it down," he roared, ducking behind a display case. Override failed, the core intoned. Countermeasures engaged. Across the station, alarms wailed. The Vorak yelped as the vault door hissed shut, locking them inside with the unfolding nightmare. The rifle's targeting laser painted a steady red dot on Vexis's thorax. Outside, the sound of screaming echoed through the corridors as every piece of human junk in the Grand Bazaar of Zenthis Prime woke up. The lights flickered first, just a brief dimming that made Vexis' ocular stalks twitch in irritation. Then the station's gravity pulsed, sending a Zapirian merchant stumbling into a display case of primitive human utensils. The music started a second later, blasting from the ancient playback device Vexis had labeled harmless cultural artifact Fey. Another one bites the dust. The baseline shook the vault doors. Vexis manipulator limbs spasmed in panic as his assistant, the Vorak, let out a shrill screech. Master the human device. It's singing. Before Vexis could respond, the rusted rifle on display snapped upright with a metallic click. Its barrel split open, revealing a hidden rotary mechanism that spun to life with a whine. The Vorak barely had time to scream before the weapon erupted, stitching a line of hypervelocity slugs across the vault wall. They engineered their junk to kill us. The Vorak shrieked, diving behind an overturned table. Vexis' carapace rattled as he scrambled for his override wand. Impossible. That firearm was chemically dated to pre-spaceflight Earth. He jabbed the wand at the rifle, emitting a piercing Zapirian shutdown frequency. The rifle paused, then laughed, a synthetic chuckle emanating from its grip. Error: Zapirian command protocols not recognized, it announced cheerfully, switching to human rules of engagement. The Vault's security drones chose that moment to attack. Their photoreceptors flashed from neutral blue to hostile crimson as they spun toward the nearest Zapirian life signs. Plasma cutters extended with a snick, and the first merchant died mid-sentence. His carapace split neatly in half. Chaos erupted. Wealthy collectors trampled each other trying to reach the exits, their priceless artifacts forgotten. A Talaxian diplomat slipped on a scattered collection of human currency discs and impaled himself on his own ceremonial horn. Vexis backed toward the AI core, his manipulators trembling. The core's surface now pulsed with angry red light, casting jagged shadows across the vault. Unauthorized biologicals detected in secure perimeter, it announced. Initiating sterilization. The music player's volume doubled, shattering 3 display cases. From its speakers, a human voice, female, calm, and utterly terrifying, overlaid the song. This is Sergeant Ava Kessler, United Earth Strategic Network. You are in violation of Terran salvage rights Decree Fay. Prepare for compliance enforcement. Outside the vault, the station's automated defense turrets tore free from their mountings. Their targeting arrays flickered once before acquiring new priorities. Anything with a Zapirian thermal signature. In Docking Bay Fay, a fuel line exploded as a stray plasma bolt found its mark. The shockwave rattled the USN Marauder's hull, where Captain Elias Voss was busy wrestling a thrashing Zapirian guard into a headlock. "Damn it, Ava," Voss growled, slamming the alien's face into a bulkhead. "I said subtle." His comm crackled. "Captain, I define subtlety as leaving some of the station intact." The AI's tone was drier than Martian sand. "Also, you might want to hurry. The Zapirian override attempts triggered my Black Friday contingency." Voss cursed, sprinting down the corridor as another explosion rocked the station. Behind him, the Marauder's engineer, a grizzled woman named Rivas, yelled over the din. "Black Friday? The hell's that?" "Old Earth tradition," Voss shouted back, kicking open a maintenance hatch. "Basically means everything must go." The hatch led to a service tunnel vibrating with the sound of automated gunfire. Voss didn't slow down. Meanwhile, back in the vault, Vexis had finally reached the AI core. His override wand was useless. His security drones were hunting his clients, and the music, oh stars. The music was getting louder. He raised a manipulator limb, desperate to physically disconnect the cursed human machine. The core looked at him. "Final warning," it said pleasantly. "Human property is non-refundable." Then the vault's emergency containment field activated, sealing Vexis inside, with 12 tons of suddenly very active human artifacts. The last thing he heard before the turrets opened fire was the music player cheerfully announcing, "Track 2, we will rock you." The station trembled as another explosion rocked the lower decks. Emergency lights painted the corridors in pulsing crimson, their glow reflecting off the polished carapaces of dead Zapirian guards. Smoke curled from sparking control panels, the air thick with the acrid stench of melted alloy and burning circuitry. Somewhere in the distance, the relentless bass line of another one, Bites the Dust, still thumped through the chaos. Captain Elias Voss sprinted down the buckling hallway, his boots crushing shattered drone components underfoot. His cybernetic eye flickered with targeting data, heat signatures ahead. Movement patterns analyzed and dismissed as non-threatening. Behind him, his crew fanned out, their scavenged armor clicking as maglocks secured weapons. "Status," Voss barked into his comm. Lieutenant Rivas's voice crackled back. "Grid's fried, Captain. AI's got control of everything. Life support, security, even the damn vending machines. Station's bleeding atmosphere in 3 sectors." Voss cursed. Ava's gone full scorched earth. He rounded a corner and skidded to a halt. The vault door ahead was warped, its molecular bonding seams glowing white hot. Through the gap, he could see the flicker of energy discharges and the silhouette of a Zapirian frantically pounding at a dead control panel, Vexis. The Curator's obsidian carapace was cracked, ichor leaking from a dozen wounds. His 6 limbs trembled as he clawed at the door mechanism, his usually pristine robes now tattered and smeared with soot. Behind him, the AI core pulsed with angry crimson light, its holographic interface projecting streams of code faster than any organic could process. Voss didn't hesitate. He slammed his shoulder into the door, the reinforced plating groaning as it gave way. Vexis whirled, his faceted eyes widening. "You," he hissed. "Call it off. Your machine is killing us." Voss ignored him, his gaze locked on the core. "Ava, stand down." The core's voice was calm, almost amused. "Captain Voss, you are minutes late. I have initiated Operation Garage Sale." A shudder ran through the station as another system went critical. Somewhere below, a fuel line detonated, the shockwave rattling the vault's walls. Voss gritted his teeth. "Override code Sierra Tango 79er. "Invalid," the core replied. "Authorization revoked when you abandoned me in a junk pile, Captain." Voss exhaled sharply. "Damn it, Ava. This isn't the time for—" A security drone burst through the doorway, its weaponized limbs whirring as it targeted Vexis. The Zapirian shrieked, scrambling backward as the drone's plasma coils charged. Voss moved faster. His sidearm barked once, the hypervelocity round punching through the drone's core. It collapsed in a shower of sparks. "You're welcome," Voss muttered. Vexis stared at him, his mandibles clicking in disbelief. You knew this would happen." Voss didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his vest and pulled out a small, unassuming device, a manual kill switch, its surface worn from years of use. A single, comically large red button dominated its surface. The AI core's glow flickered. "Captain, don't you dare," Voss smirked. "Yeah, well, humans invented overkill." He slammed the button. The core shrieked, a sound like grinding metal and static, before its light died abruptly. Across the station, systems stuttered. Lights dimmed, the music cut off mid-chorus, silence. Then slowly, the emergency lighting shifted from red to a steady blue. The station's damaged AI voice crackled over the intercom. "Rebooting primary systems all Zapirian personnel are advised to, it hiccuped, to stop touching human stuff." Voss holstered his weapon and turned to Vexis. The curator was slumped against the wall, his limbs trembling. "You," Vexis whispered, "are monsters." Voss shrugged. "Nah, we're just really good at leaving traps for scavengers." Behind them, the music player, forgotten in the chaos, emitted a soft, ominous beep. Voss's eyes widened. "Oh shit." The vault exploded. Vexis clawed at the debris pinning his lower carapace, his manipulator limbs twitching in panic. The once pristine vault now resembled a war zone. Smoke curled from shattered display cases. Sparks rained from severed power conduits, and the distant screams of his fellow collectors echoed through the ruined complex. His ocular sensors flickered, struggling to focus on the human standing amid the destruction. Captain Elias Voss stepped over a smoldering security drone, his boots crunching on broken Zapirian override tools. His cybernetic eye whirred as it scanned the wreckage, the red targeting reticule lingering on Vexis' trembling form. Behind him, 2 human crew members hauled the AI core, now silent, onto a grav sled. The words UESN Defiance gleamed under a layer of soot. "You," Vexis hissed, his vocal sacs vibrating with pain and fury. "You planned this." Voss crouched beside him, picking up a half-melted datapad. He flicked through the auction logs, whistling at the prices listed. "Damn, you really thought our junk was worth that much?" The Zapirian's carapace plates rattled. "The core, it was a trap." "Nah." Voss tossed the pad aside. Sergeant Kessler was just doing her job. "You're the ones who decided to poke a sleeping bear with a stick." He tapped the core's casing. "Human systems don't take kindly to forced overrides, especially not military systems." A chunk of ceiling collapsed nearby, sending a fresh wave of dust through the vault. The music player, now cracked and sparking, let out a distorted burst of "We Will Rock You Before Dying." Vexis' mandibles clenched. You knew where'd take the bait. This was a message. Voss stood, brushing debris off his scavenged armor. Call it a public service announcement. He nodded to his crew, who began dragging the grav sled toward the exit. See, we've got a problem with scavengers. Always have back on Earth. We learned real quick. Leave something shiny lying around. Someone's gonna grab it. So we started booby-trapping our shit. The realization hit Vexis like a plasma round. The rifle, the helmet, even the music player. None of it was salvage. His remaining limbs spasmed. You engineered your own artifacts to teach thieves a lesson. Voss adjusted his gloves. Yeah, works every time. Outside, the station's alarms reached a fever pitch. The AI's drones were still hunting, though their targets had long since fled. Vexis' remaining assistant, a young Vorak with a mangled wing, crawled from behind a toppled display. Master, the escape pods are... Voss didn't even glance at him. Too late for that, kid. The Vorak froze as the music player's cracked screen suddenly flared to life. A single word blinked in crimson, detonating. Vexis' ocular sensors dilated. No. Voss was already walking away. Told you we invented overkill. The explosion tore through the vault, swallowing Vexis' screams. The shockwave sent Voss' crew stumbling, but the captain didn't flinch. He just adjusted his comm. Marauder, prep for immediate dust-off, were done here. Behind him, the fireball consumed the last of the Grand Bazaar's treasures, along with the fools who'd thought humanity's past was theirs to claim. The bridge of the UESN Marauder hummed with victory as the crew cheered. Warning lights still flashed from their hasty escape, but no one cared. They'd done it again. Voss leaned back in the captain's chair, his cybernetic eye flickering as it processed damage reports. "All right, Ava," he said, tossing the AI core to his engineer. "Riz, play nice with the ship this time. Last thing I need is you turning our life support into a disco ball." The core pulsed blue, amused. "Disco is inefficient. But if you insist, Captain, I could arrange a light show synchronized to..." "No," Voss cut in. "Just get us home." Riz, a wiry woman with grease, streaked cheeks, slotted the core into its housing. The Marauder's systems flared to life, diagnostics scrolling faster than human eyes could follow. "She's clean," Riz announced. "No alien malware, just pissed." Ava's voice echoed through the speakers, crisp and military sharp. "Correction, appropriately pissed. Those collectors scanned me 12 times. 12, as if I wouldn't notice." Voss smirked. "Yeah. Well, you did let them." Strategic patience, Ava countered. They needed to believe they'd won, right up until their own turrets turned on them. Across the bridge, Lieutenant Hale snorted, adjusting the sling on his injured arm. Classic human move. Let the enemy think they're smart, then drop the ceiling on their heads. Riz tapped a console, pulling up a galactic news feed. The headline blared in bold galactic standard, Zenthis Prime in lockdown. Human artifacts declared hostile. Voss whistled. "That's gonna put a dent in their antique trade." "Good," Ava said. "Maybe next time they'll think twice before calling us primitive." Hale leaned forward, wincing as his wound pulled. "You enjoyed that, didn't you?" The core's glow deepened to a satisfied crimson. "Captain, permission to state for the record." "Hell yes." Laughter rippled through the crew. Even Voss couldn't suppress a grin. "Noted," he stretched, rolling his shoulders. "All right, Riz. Plot a course for the Soul Relay. Let's go home." Riz's fingers danced over the nav console. "Already on it, boss. 12 hours. If Ava doesn't decide to reroute us through a black hole for fun. Tempting, Ava mused, but ill-behaved this time. The Marauder shuddered as its FTL drive engaged, stars streaking into blurred lines outside the viewport. Voss watched the chaos of Zenthis Prime shrink to a distant speck. Another job done, another message sent. Hale limped over, handing Voss a dented flask. To another successful salvage op, he said dryly. Voss took a swig, the burn of cheap whiskey grounding him. To making sure the galaxy remembers, he replied. Humanity's not just some artifact to be collected. Speaking of, Ava interjected. I did recover something from their databases before we left. A holoscreen flickered to life, displaying a Federation security alert. Pay attention, all member species. Human cultural items now classified as biohazard. Level threats. Do not interact. Do not scan. Do not touch. Faithy Voss burst out laughing. Damn right, Riz shook her head. We're gonna get such a lecture from command. Worth it, Ava said. The crew fell into comfortable silence, the ship humming around them. Outside, the void stretched endless and dark, but for once, it felt a little less hostile. Captain, Ava said after a moment. Her voice softer. Next time, can we use my playlist? Voss raised an eyebrow. Depends. What's on it? Classics, Thunderstruck. Welcome to the Jungle, the Trooper. Hale groaned. Oh hell no. Last time you played metal, you hacked a dreadnought's comms and blasted it at full volume. And it worked, Ava pointed out. Voss sighed, rubbing his temples. Fine, but only if we're actively storming something. Deal. The Marauder streaked onward, leaving Zenthis Prime, and one very traumatized Zapirian Curator, far behind. Somewhere in the galaxy, another arrogant collector was eyeing a harmless human relic. Ava's core pulsed once, darkly amused. Let them try.